your sound working, Kelsey?
You tell me.
Yes.
I got it. I have Brett as the co-host, and don't worry about it. Just if you can moderate the YouTube page, that'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah, it's funny. Since I just got done bragging about how I've had pretty good luck doing this
Yeah.
course.
All right, so looks like we are on. So if it's all right, I will call roll.
Yes, please.
Mr. Pahovich,
Here.
Mr. Dove,
Here.
Ms. Trabellis,
Here.
Mr. McNulty, Mr. McNulty.
Here.
Oh, here. Thank you.
Okay.
And then Mr. Doherty.
Here.
All right, we have a full quorum. Thank you. So I think at this point I'd ask for a motion to come back from recess.
I'll make a motion to come back.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Doherty to come back from recess for the Route 23 Corridor Overlay District. Second by Ms. Trabellis. Those voting, Mr. Pahovich,
Yes.
Mr. Dove,
Yes.
Ms. Trabellis,
Yes.
Mr. McNulty,
Yes.
and Mr. Doherty.
Yes.
All right, Adam, if it's all right, I would like to have our consultant, Holly Maddie, begin this hearing.
Yeah, Michelle, should I read the swearing in?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that eventually.
No problem. Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State, I do. And when it's your turn to offer testimony, please state your full name, address, and affirm that you have been sworn in. Anyone who intends to offer comments or testimony through the online chat room function also needs to be sworn in remotely. Before your initial comment, please type your name, address, and the words "I affirm" to indicate that you solemnly swear that the testimony that you are offering is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right. So I guess then now we can turn it over, Holly, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you. This is Holly Maddie with Crossroads Community Planning, 49 Stony Bluff Way, Lithopolis, Ohio, and I will affirm that I've been sworn in. So good evening, and thank you for your time tonight to review the latest draft of the RCOD for the Route 23 corridor. It's really been a great experience, especially the last meeting, to go through the document and understand your concerns and work with you to address those to ensure that the document reflects the quality standards expected by the Orange Township residents. We believe that we've addressed most of the concerns that the Commission has raised over the last few meetings, and our goal tonight is to hopefully close out this public hearing with a positive recommendation from the Zoning Commission to the Township trustees. Having said this, I want to spend just a few minutes talking about a couple of major changes that we made since the last meeting. So first and foremost, the most substantial change we made is on page 11 of the packet that Michelle sent out to you on August 19th. This page will refer you to section 20.04, which is where we have added a work session by the Zoning Commission. This is a substantial deviation from the previous drafts and is a reflection of one of the major concerns raised by the Zoning Commission. The addition of this work session has been written in a manner that provides the opportunity to the Zoning Commission to review and provide informal input on the RCOD applications. But it does state that if the Zoning Commission fails to act on this opportunity or fails to obtain a quorum to open and conduct a meeting within the required timeframe, then the application moves forward to the Township trustees with no input from the Zoning Commission. So to ensure that this process moves smoothly and to ensure that we get the feedback that we're looking for from the Zoning Commission, the new text establishes a requires a schedule to be established each year that would include monthly RCOD submittal dates, a zoning commission work session within 14 days of each submittal date, and a township trustee's public hearing date within 30 days of each submittal date. And we believe this language provides a balance between the need for the technical expertise from the Zoning Commission and the expedited review process that's desired by the business community. This schedule will also help provide predictability of meeting dates, not only to the applicants to ensure that their application is going through the process in the 30 days, but also to the Zoning Commission, because we want to make sure that there's opportunity to provide a quorum and that they know about those meetings ahead of time. So by creating that schedule up front each year, you should be able to hopefully schedule your other meetings around that work session for each month. Secondly, also within section 20.04, we made changes to the modification process. I'm not going to go into detail on that because we talked pretty much in detail on that the last meeting, but I wanted to let you know that we did reflect those changes in this current text. We also took the modification section and the work session language back to legal counsel and had them review it. And they are now on board with both of those sections. So that has happened since the last meeting as well. And then just three other high level things that we did to note is self-storage. We talked a lot about that at the last meeting. That's been moved to the advanced manufacturing section instead of being a prohibited use altogether. And also address boat and RV outdoor storage as a prohibited use. We addressed the screening of storage and trash containers based upon our last meeting. And then we also had a lot of in-depth conversation about architectural requirements. So I'm not going to go into detail about those, but I feel that we've took all of those considerations into effect and made the applicable changes to the text. So that's a real high level review of what has been done. But at this point, I want to turn it back over to Michelle, if it's okay. And she was going to share a possible recommendation that could hopefully come out of the meeting tonight. So Michelle?
Yes, thanks, Holly. So as mentioned, we did draft a recommendation for approval this evening for the board to consider. As of now, there are 4 stipulations that we have added onto the recommendation, and I'll just high level bring those up. I know the first one I think was one of the most crucial ones to the commission for consideration was to amend the area boundary maps, and let me pull that up. I'm sorry, where did I put that? I saved it somewhere. Sorry, I thought I had it up. But just to discuss it, to amend the map, especially the area along Lewis Center Road, the south side, and just south of Old Lewis Center Village, to get rid of that entirely off the plan. And we did mark up the map, and we'll consider that as attachment 1 to this recommendation for the board's consideration. I saved those maps somewhere. Come on, Michelle. Sorry, bear with me. I'm gonna have to pull Holly's email up again. I don't know where I saved that. These are the two areas that the commission and in the past few meetings have identified to be removed from the overlay district. So that is part of one of the stipulations. The second stipulation on the recommendation is something that the staff noticed. We've been getting a lot of proposals for commercial and residential on this site just north of the Walmart Plaza. So we thought to, instead of having this multifamily only, we thought to do it as a mixed use district. And then the two stipulations, and we've discussed this, I think specifically Christine and I maybe have discussed this in the past, is to modify the parking space size to be 9 by 18 feet in length, just to reduce the amount of impervious area. And then the last stipulation is to review the example images for the landscaping standards, as based on our standards, the images don't necessarily match perfectly to what we're expecting. So we'll look at updating those. But that's all we drafted for the commission this evening. If the board has any other stipulations to be added, we can definitely address them tonight.
I just had a couple questions, and I'm sure nothing's going to change, but I'm curious. I appreciate that we have an informal meeting now for the zoning commission. I'm curious why, since it's an informal meeting, that we're required to have a quorum.
Yeah, and that was something that I actually raised the question to legal about when the work session idea was brought about. It is because you're actually conducting a meeting. Anytime there are more than 2 members of a zoning commission together, it is a public meeting per the Sunshine Law. So you have to have a quorum to conduct that.
Informal meetings, we don't have to, because why?
I'm sorry, that was cutting in and out and I didn't hear you.
We have informal meetings. We typically will have informal meetings as well, where we have 2 members of the commission. We'll meet with the applicant before, well, it's before the application is submitted. So we don't have a quorum there, and all those are informal meetings. It seems like we're calling this one an informal meeting as well.
Well, we're calling it an official meeting to provide informal feedback. But you're required to have a quorum per the Sunshine Laws.
And I think, Todd, we can still have informal or pre-application meetings if the applicant wants to, which, I mean, I plan on still encouraging, rather than them submitting and, you know, paying all the fees. But this is also, it's a work session. Some communities do it. It was something that I brought up to the team. I know Upper Arlington has a work session before they review the final development plan. And so that was something that I thought we could consider tonight. So yes, it's not a formal recommendation that goes to the trustees, but it is that we would ask for feedback. And I guess, I mean, maybe an informal recommendation to the board on the application.
So with that being said, it sounds like the trustees are going to set a once a month where the applications have to be submitted. I'm assuming then the zoning commission will set their once a month meeting a week after the application.
It can be up to
14
2
days.
weeks.
Yeah, Todd, sorry.
Because obviously I'm thinking we're going to need to have notes typed up to be able to submit to the trustees.
I mean, can staff put that all together, Holly?
Yes.
After...
So the intent is that the meetings have to be held within the 14 days, not that the notes have to be typed up and presented to the trustees within the 14 days. So the way it's written, the zoning inspector would be the one that's responsible for typing up those notes and relaying the information to the township trustees at their public hearing.
Okay.
And then Todd, going back to the calendar, I mean, we would incorporate that into, because every year we do our regular zoning commission calendar. Right. I would incorporate that as a 23 work session or whatever we call it into the calendar too.
So if we set a date and we can't have a quorum, Or are we just saying we don't have a quorum, or are we gonna try to make a date work so that we have at least 3 people and we can review it?
I think that's something that you're gonna have to internally decide as you make your calendar. If you want to make your calendar so that the work session is really close to the submittal date, so that if you don't have a quorum, you have time to get another meeting scheduled. I mean, I think that's something that internally you guys have to decide. This provides flexibility to you as long as you get something done within the 14 days.
Okay. And really, my only other question is on item 6. It talks about the Crossroads has removed the language allowing the township to charge the applicant for professional consulting services associated with the application. I'm not sure what professional consulting services there would be.
All right, so a lot of overlay districts that are found throughout the state of Ohio include, it's rather lengthy language that allows the township to identify if they want to bring in a planning consulting firm or an engineering firm or an architectural firm in to review more complex applications. And it allows them to come up with however many hours they estimate that they would utilize this firm, take their hourly rate and charge that to the applicant. But it requires a lot of work from staff. Staff has to identify who the consultants are, what their hourly rates are, how much it would be, and then they have to take that deposit in, and then the fiscal office has to keep track and charge against that for the hours of review. And then at the end, there's the question of whether or not that was a deposit, and any remaining money goes back to the applicant, and how all that works out. So Michelle and I discussed it, and Michelle decided that that was too complex and asked me to remove that language. And we're going to create a flat fee that helps build in some time for review, but not necessarily cover an architectural or planning firm to come in and totally review an entire application.
And also, just to add on that, I mean, that language was in there when there was no zoning commission involvement. So now that there is, I do feel more comfortable doing a flat fee, because I would rely on the commission for those architectural expertise, for instance.
It just seemed weird that we were taking the zoning commission out of it, where you have 3 people that work at architectural firms, you have a civil engineer.
I agree.
You know, so now we're paying, or someone's paying for basically that review. But
We got rid of that.
We got rid of that because we're adding the zoning commission back in.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think that was, I mean, I'd rather take it, well, I don't want to say take advantage, but utilize our board members'
Right.
skills.
A lot cheaper. Those are my initial comments.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Adam. The only question I had, and I is also in regards to the work session, and the way as I read this, and this is more, I guess, for clarification purposes, is this work session would take place on every overlay district application, correct? Not just, you know, if we had a extremely complicated one, or no one's making that determination. It's just we're always going to have this process in place for all applicants. Okay.
Correct. Now, the only thing is that if the zoning inspector saw something that came through that was minor, the zoning inspector could approach the commission and say, I don't know if you necessarily want to review this. You may waive your rights, or you may cancel the meeting if there's nothing else on the agenda. You would have that opportunity to do that, but it's set up that everything would go through it.
Now, would that expedite the process then? Like, say if they had a very minor change to, you know, what's in the overlay district, and you know, there's really no reason for us to look at that or even talk about it. Is there an opportunity there to move the process or expedite, or since those 14 days aren't needed, or is that not really?
probably going to be very difficult because the way that the trustees meetings are set up, that I don't know if she would be able to get the notice out for the trustees meeting in time to get to the earlier trustee meeting.
Got
So I
it.
think it's probably always going to hit that 30-day period.
Yeah, I don't think adding this work session doesn't change the time frame of this. We always had it within 30 days for the trustee hearing, and then now we're adding within 14 days doing the work session. So
Okay.
So if an applicant comes in and their application meets all the requirements of this overlay district, do they even have to come in front of the trustees?
Yes.
oh yeah. Hmm.
So
Yes.
every application, so it's not like our zoning process now, where if they meet, the use and the setbacks and the height requirements and the materials, and they don't have to come before the zoning commission. They still have to go in front of the board of trustees.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
If they want to use the overlay, yes.
Okay.
So then I have a question. What happens if they come, want to use the overlay, but are requesting variances? Because I noticed you added some language about variances.
That's the
How does
divergence.
that work?
So yeah, they're referred to as divergences to keep consistent with your other PUD language in your text. And the way that would work is anytime that they are deviating from any of the development standards, they would be required to put that in textual form. So a written form saying we are deviating from 20.10.E1 or whatever the standard is. And we're instead of meeting a minimum of this, we're going for a minimum of X. And so they would be outlined by number of all the deviations. And then it would be required as part of this approval process that the trustees are approving the deviations. Now, if they approve of all the deviations and the development plan, they could, do that all in one motion. But if they want to, not approve one of the divergences, then they could make a motion to not approve a specific divergence and approve everything else.
Okay, and then, of course, I guess the zoning commission during our work session, whatever you could call it, could make recommendations on those divergences.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes.
Not they should be approved. Whether
Correct.
for minor ones based on difficult sites, or, I want to up my density from 8 units to 12 units.
Yep.
Might be considered a major one.
Yep.
Okay, because that was one of my concerns is I initially thought that with this overlay, you sort of had to go with everything in the overlay. You weren't rezoning it, but you were, the overlay was the overlay. Its requirements were its requirements.
We thought about that at one point, but it didn't the real reality of it didn't seem right. So
Okay.
but I think when we at the work session and staff's review too, we'll list the divergences requested. We also are asking the applicant to list them too. Now we want to verify all that, but and we can respond to those divergences, and I could put something together saying zoning commission does not support this divergence because of something. We can like craft it in a way to share it to the trustees to provide the proper feedback.
I was just pointing that out because we've had concerns about that in the past where the trustees have approved divergences or variances, depending upon which board it went through, with increasing density that the commission probably would not approve of.
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully I can address some of that prior to it at coming to any board, if it's an extreme divergence or if they're trying to get over, I think our magic number is 10. If they're trying to get more than 10 things, I'll try to sway them to comply more before you submit, or, there's hopefully, I think it would continue as, like you said, it's a review as if we do any PD or plan district, identifying the divergences and seeing if we're willing to move forward with it or not.
Well, like I said, I have concerns, but I feel better now that at least the zoning commission gets a work session where we can review those and make recommendations. So I don't know how the other commission members feel, but that is an area where it could pose potential issues in the future.
Well, from staff's perspective, we're definitely in support of the zoning commission's involvement.
All right. I only had a couple other comments. Since I'm talking right now, I might as well just get them out. I'm glad you made the changes to the map, so thank you for doing that in terms of the mixed use recommendation for the area by the Walmart Plaza. I was wondering why that was going to be. I didn't think it was a good idea to have multifamily right off the 23, that might be better for commercial use. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the addition of the zoning commission work session. And I actually had a comment on the text. It has to do with the signage. I think it's page 46 and 47. I don't know if you can pull that up or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, ups, your draft is different than my draft.
Are you talking, is it the red line version?
No, it's the version in front of the red line. So I don't know what it is on the non-red line version, but it's for the signage. And
Okay.
I had maybe let's see. It has to do with the base of the sign, and then there's a sign area example.
Probably
There.
39 or 40.
Okay, so go up to I guess the page above is, see how first we said the solid base must be the same width as the sign, and then when you look at the example on the next page, the solid base is bigger than the sign. So go to the next page.
Mm-hmm.
The base is bigger than the sign.
So
Yeah.
how do you, I guess, what would do you want it to be the same, or do you want it to be at least the minimum base has to be the width of the sign?
Yeah, I was thinking minimum is what I was thinking when I wrote that.
Is the board okay with the minimum? I mean, can the base go out more like this image, or do you want it to be? Like,
I just bring it up because it was sort of inconsistent, and I think it's, unless I'm mistaken, inconsistent with our current code, where the base and the sign are pretty much the same size. Maybe there's like a little reveal, but that they're basically the same size because it's a solid base under there. I don't really feel strongly one way or the other. I just want it to sort of make sense and be consistent.
Yeah. I don't care either way. I can change either the text or the sign graphic.
mm-hmm.
But I think our current, unless I'm mistaken, and maybe some other commission members can help me out here, I thought that our current one, that the base had to be the same size as the sign.
So it's actually, this is the language, it has to be at least the width or equal to of that sign. So it can go out longer.
Okay.
This is the code section here. I don't know if you can see my screen, but so we can have that language, and if you want to stay consistent, I think we should.
Okay, I have no problems as long as we're consistent.
All right, so we're changing the text to match current sign code, and we're leaving the graphic as is. Does that make sense?
Yes, I want to add that as a stipulation though.
Yep.
Like I said, I just want to be consistent. So unless the commission has other thoughts on it.
I think consistent is exactly the right approach.
I need to figure out what section it is, sorry.
It's 20.10. It would be
G2, no, G, oh gosh, there we go.
E3, I believe, right?
Okay.
G2, 3.
Is that it? I think.
Are you? I'm sorry, I moved off.
Oh,
hold on. I'm not seeing your stipulations. I'm seeing, there we go.
I think it's three.
Yep.
Oh, three. Well,
It's
no, it's
G. It's G, not D. G is in.
G. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
G.
And then, yep. And then 2.
Oh, then 2.
Yep. And then 3. And then the letter D, small d, as in dog.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. G. Not sure if my parentheses are right, but we'll. Okay. Okay. So then I'm going to pull what our code says. Oops.
And then you should be modified the text as well.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no.
The text lesson is fine. Let me just, okay. Is that language okay?
Yeah, as I'm assuming you've gotten it directly from our current code, sign code?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, as long as we're consistent, so there's no confusion.
Holly, does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
All right, that's it for me.
Okay.
Otherwise, thanks for taking our last discussions into consideration in this draft. I appreciate it.
We appreciate your input. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Huh? Anyone else?
Well, just to say, I think that this makes all the difference in adding the commission, the zoning commission to this. I think that was huge to make us the last part of this for the trustees see it and allow the input and use the expertise of some of the board members. I think that's excellent.
Michelle gave a lot of input on that, so I appreciate her guidance on that.
All right.
In terms of the YouTube, it looks like we have no comments either.
People are tuning in, but and I did send a message on the YouTube to see if anybody had any comments or questions. But...
Okay, so should we wait, Michelle, or just move forward with the motion? Should we wait on? You said you just sent a message?
I sent it in the beginning, so I think we're safe to go. Move forward if you would like to.
Okay. Can I get a recommendation to approve the Route 23 corridor overlay district as amended? What do we? Yeah.
So yeah, we're asking for whoops, I'll bring the agenda again for this, a recommendation for this.
The 23 corridor overlay district, RCOD.
I make a motion to approve the Route 23 corridor overlay with the following modifications.
Dustin, don't hate me, but I would like you to read this.
Oh my God. Okay, sure. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Whereas pursuant to the revised code section 519.12, the Board of Township Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, on April 6, 2020, executed an intergovernmental agreement between Delaware County Finance Authority and Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, for initiating the modification of Article 20 of the Orange Township zoning resolution to create a new district known as Route 23 Corridor Overlay District. Whereas the Orange Township Zoning Commission has conducted public hearings regarding the resolution on June 16, 2020, July 7, 2020, and August 4, 2020. And as the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission has presented its recommendation regarding amendments adopted at its meeting on May 20, 2020, which recommendation has been considered during the public hearing. Keep going.
Sorry.
Correct?
Yes, please.
Now, therefore, Mr. Doherty moves that the modification or supplement stated reflected in Resolution 20-180 are recommended for approval to the Board of Township Trustees with the following exceptions. Section 20.02, modify Route 23 Commercial Overlay District map to remove the multifamily area south of Lewis Center Road, to remove a portion of mixed use -2 mixed use area immediately south of Lewis Center Village as shown on attachment L, where 1. Section 20.02, modify Route 23 Commercial Overlay District map to replace parcel number 318-321-01-010-000 to a mixed-use area and renumber accordingly. Section 20.10 D.
All right, Justin, I'm gonna just add on attachment 1, so for reference, but.
As shown on attachment 1. Section 20.10 D7, modify to allow the minimum parking space to be 9 feet in width and 18 feet in length. Section 20.10 G23D, modify the text of last sentence in paragraph to state the following. Sign shall be affixed directly to a base having a width at least equal to that of the sign. Consider updating example images to better reflect landscaping standards. Further move that a copy of this motion, together with the recommendation of the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission, be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Director to the Board of Township Trustees as soon as possible so that it may proceed with this action in this manner according to law.
All right,
I did it.
you did it.
Second.
Okay, those voting, Mr. Pahovich,
Yes.
Ms. Trevellis,
Yes.
Mr. Dove,
I make a comment before I vote.
sure.
I knew that this process or this document or whatever, the overlay was going to be approved by the trustees. At least I felt that way because we probably wouldn't have gone through the process if that wasn't the case. From the very, I appreciate, I think we've added some things in here that were very important and made some revisions that I think will be great as well. But I still have 4 major concerns. One is the change in the process, and 2 is, I know we've done some map stipulations, but there's still some land uses that I have concern about. Building heights we discussed and were never really changed for various reasons. And then density is the same way. So those things were brought up at the very beginning for various reasons. They were not really changed, and it was quite apparent that they weren't going to be changed. For those reasons, I'm voting no on this.
Mr. McNulty
Yes.
and Mr. Doherty.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. That's all I have on the agenda this evening. If the board is interested in the next steps, we will be presenting the recommendation to the trustees at their next board meeting on September 7th, I believe, asking for them to schedule the hearing date. My guess it'll be shortly after that, so we're aiming towards the second hearing in September. We will do another big outreach to get that hearing notice out, and then the trustees will hopefully make the consideration of adopting the 23 overlay district then. So thank you all for your time and review. We greatly appreciate it. Obviously, feel free to share any other comments or questions or concerns. I'm happy to pass it all along to the board.
Michelle, can you go ahead and send us notice of when that trustee meeting will be?
Yes.
When they vote on this, so
Yeah.
if we have time, we may be able to attend.
Yes, absolutely. And it'll be held in this matter too. So
I
I can send them. Mhm,
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
absolutely. All right. Well, that's all I have. I don't know if anybody else has anything to share, but we can adjourn the meeting if everyone wants to do something else.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
Adam, can we declare the meeting's adjourned then?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
All right, we're officially adjourned. I can hang up. Thank you.
You can hang up. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great evening.
You too.